Okay, hello everybody, and as usual, episode whatever it is of me doing PB analyses in Sonic Adventure 2. So today I'm going to be taking a look at PB by SilentMotorBoat, who is probably, I'd say, the strongest player I've looked at so far. You can see we're looking at a PB of like a 37.45, so the run is definitely respectable, but you know, as should be obvious, there's always potential room for improvement. And the point of this, like, isn't just to like say, oh, the run's really good, whatever. The point is like to show how a run can be improved. So I'm going to just be making observations as we go through, and if appropriate, I'm going to be making gameplay demonstrations of different concepts that I'm talking about. So I already know in this PB that SMB does hit CE skip. Also, nice mouse cursor on the screen. That's not my mouse cursor, that's his mouse cursor. So, off to a good start. So that was like the weird like double ramp jump you can get at the start of City Escape, which like it's not exactly trivial, and it's kind of minor, but it's a nice little optimization if you can pull it off. Like there was a little bit of weird collision Sonic had there where it was, like I say, basically a sort of double jump. And effectively, it just increases your distance considerably on the jump. And since your airspeed there is a lot higher than the ground speed, then it is favourable to get the longest jumps that you can, except for this next ramp coming up here, which I've talked about previously. Like on this ramp jump here, if you're on the very edge of the ramp, then you can actually get too much distance and just fly into that far wall, so that is a thing that can easily happen. So this is a nice start. There was something that's like worth just rolling back a little there and looking at, is that you can see here that when he lands and is about to hit the speed pads here, he actually performs a jump right before hitting the speed pads. So Sonic still has some speed, and now with some specific like stick movement, once the camera changes, you can just maintain Sonic's momentum here without having the speed pads lock your directional influence. So this is how SMB at this point lands like right down here and is immediately in control of Sonic. So this is a favourable position to be in if you can manage it. It is faster than just taking the regular method. Regular route, I should say. So what happened here was just a small little vertex quirk. You can see that doing this first spin dash as normal, but then what happened here is that took a little bit of a wide path around here, and he like crossed over the vertex here onto the wall and was like coming back down over it, and that actually kicked him out the spin dash charge. Like you can see that occurred once he crossed over the vertex again, and because he's was expecting to have a spin dash that he could release, he like released the B button there, and then he just got a somersault instead. So yeah, vertexes in this game are always tricky and are always the cause of a lot of bad things happening. So just something to be aware of and try and be careful of. But getting the spin dash on the slope there is faster than doing it before the slope, since again it prevents a vertex change and makes you decelerate later. So a nicely executed CE skip. I don't have too much to say about how CE skip is done, because there's like multiple ways that you can do it, and it's ultimately just runner preference. He did do it with a lot of speed, so he has what we call the bad camera here, but this is effective movement throughout the rail section as well. A little bit of an inefficient turn on that one corner, which caused Sonic to like sway right over on the rail and slow down a lot, but still got through it in one piece. I again don't have too much like to say about that immediately. So this is nice, getting over these hills in truck section without too much trouble. If there's one thing that I could say for this truck section to improve on, something that I noticed on, I think this is the second hill coming up. Yeah, so something I noticed right here is, if anything can be criticised, it's that the spin dash over this hill is being held way too long. That's like, at this point, the spin dash can already be released. You really, because you're already going at high speed, the only reason you're spin dashing at all is to make sure that you actually get over the hills without coming off the ground. You're not really spin dashing to get your speed back up, because you are already at very high speed. So once you're over the hill crest, you can just let the spin dash go immediately and you'll still be at top speed. So continuing to hold it here and slowing down instead of going faster is just a waste of time. Like, it's a small optimization, but if it's something that you can pay attention to, then it's something that you should pay attention to. Like, I'm guilty of that myself, but it's always worth just being aware that it's a thing. Because the same kind of thing happens there, like that spin dash could have been released slightly earlier, for instance. But coming out with a 126, I would say, is a perfectly respectable city escape. Like, if you're going for world record, you'd like to finish the stage a few seconds faster, I suppose, but, like, again, it's a totally respectable time. And considering there was, like, at least a couple of seconds lost on just the rail section from slowing down on that one efficient angle change, then a 126 is honestly pretty solid, because it would have been, like, a 124 or better without that. Let's see how Bigfoot goes here. There's really actually nothing for me to demonstrate in that city escape, which is nice. This is going to be a short stream. Backbox strats, okay. So, this is a nice practical decision if you're not, like, very confident about using the forward box strats. Like, for those who aren't really aware, the two methods that you have for dealing with this fight are you can use the back box here, which SMB was just using, or you can immediately go forward when the fight starts and use this front box here. Using the front box is like a 3 to 4 seconds faster, but the positioning is quite a bit more awkward because of the camera not being situated in a very advantageous spot. So there is quite a bit of learning of just how to make that strap work for you. Going for the back box comparatively is a lot safer, and it is just like, say, like 3-4 seconds slower. But that's not a lot of time, and considering missing a hit with the front box strat costs more than that, as I say, I think it's a good practical decision if you're not really confident about doing the front box strats. It's definitely worth practicing the front box strats to be able to do them, but if it's just like not coming together and you're messing them up quite often in attempts, there's definitely nothing wrong with just going for the back boxes. So Wild Canyon, let's just see how this goes. I'm expecting to see the standard free-piece checks here at the start. Oh, well, okay, no, because beginning room, so that's one of the best starts you can get in the stage. And Golden Circle on a Red Circle is a really good next piece. Nice. Okay, so this is, I don't know how much of that right there was just being too used to how Knuckles plays in every other stage and or Centurion play. But there's a little bit of extraneous movement here, which is just unnecessary. And this actually applies to almost every Knuckles surface, so this is a habit that's worth bringing up here, because a lot of people do this. And like I say, it's an extraneous piece of movement that actually just loses a bit of time. So after collecting the piece here, you get the piece, and your target is the hit monitor down here. Which means you need to get off this ledge, because as Knuckles, if you just try and run off a ledge, you oops on the edge of the ledge, and that does waste a lot of time. So what SMB did was, I'll just slow it down here, you can see that he did a jump and then a drill dive onto the ground. So he did like drill dive straight into the ground, which is good to remember that you are able to do that in that situation because you don't yet have the shovel claws. But doing the jump to get off that ledge there is completely unnecessary. This I will take a quick moment to just demonstrate here because it's very quick to reach in Wild Canyon. And because I'm just demonstrating getting off the ledge, I don't need to worry about getting the drill dive once I hit the ground below. So let's just pretend I'm going over there. Let's pretend I'm grabbing the piece. And then rather than jump to get off it, what you should instead do is just punch off it. Like, you can just punch and then immediately drill dive off it rather than jumping. Or just fall, normally. But either way, doing a punch to get off the ledge, if Knuckles has enough speed, just punching like that is faster than jumping and then drill diving like this, because jumping causes air drag, which lowers your horizontal speed, and then obviously because you're jumping, you're gaining height, so you've got more distance to cover vertically to reach the ground as well. Should be able to get it like really, really quickly if you get an A input and then another B input after getting off the ledge. Yeah, you can make it pretty swift, so that is like something worth being aware of and something worth practicing in general, just as a movement habit to develop as Knuckles. Like, this applies for any stage, that if you just want to go horizontally off a ledge that's about to end, you should punch off the ledge rather than jumping and gliding. Because, of course, the punching speed is also higher than anything else. So it makes you go faster in more ways than one. the good on a railway. Nice. So struggling a little with the piece grab there, but it's an awkward piece. But at least he got it, and still getting a 20. Not a bad time at all. Definitely wouldn't object to that time. Man, please go away, YouTube stuff. So let's see this 12.6 Eggman, hopefully. It's kind of nice that, like, for once there's no music in the run as well. It makes it very just easy to watch and probably a lot more audible than usual. Man, not even a 12. Bad fight. Bad fight. All the criticism in the world, you can see how much time I'm currently putting into saying what should have gone better in that fight. Okay, so this prison lane. Relatively nice start. So, okay, if I'm gonna find stuff to nitpick, which honestly I haven't really done much critique so far, except for that one part in Wild Canyon. When rounding corners like this, ideally you want to try and spend as little time as possible in the air and take the shortest path possible. So, what I mean by that is, on this corner, there was quite a wide path taken around the corner, and you waited until you were like halfway, like with this plane here, like this hallway being like this, you wait until you were like halfway around here before turning around. Like, I can totally understand like wanting to avoid the wall and just make sure you don't lose your speed, but these corners in general, I expect that they can probably be a little bit tighter. I'll again see if I can pull up the comparison in SA2. So let's see if I can just get a quick... Where's Prison Lane? Oh yeah, it's there. I should probably know the stage select layout, but there it is. So my direction change, I probably could have been like a little more efficient, but I did take the corner itself about as tightly as I could have. I don't think I was going like as fast as I could have out of it, but you know, it's tricky. But the amount of airtime that you should be getting on each jump, it's also worth trying to make sure you're minimizing the amount of airtime that you're getting as well, because the longer Tails is in the air, the more speed he's going to lose. So like, for instance, right there, if you can get around that corner in just one jump, it's better to do that rather than get around it in 2 jumps, as just happened here. So like, 1 jump there and then another one to get through, it's like... It's just kind of unnecessary. And the same thing there, like both of those doors you can get through in 1 jump each, so jumping multiple times is just not necessary. So this box break here is the first thing in the stage which like went wrong. So let's take a proper look at this. And I mean, I think I already know what happened here. Let's just take a look. Okay, so the shot actually just went to the left of the box. So yeah, this is kind of the problem with this spot. You want to make sure that you don't hit the wall. So you want to make sure that you're not drifting into the wall. You also want to make sure you're not too far to the right so that you'll hit this box here. But at the same time, you do need to be facing the box so that you will actually break it when you shoot. So like, it is a bit of a tricky medium to gauge. Let's just see if I can get it here. Please target the enemy. So like I said there, just 1 jump for each of those, all you need. So I got the shot, but then my timing was a little wrong. So I basically did the other thing that could have gone wrong. Like, SMB messed up the shot timing in terms of didn't wait until it was facing towards the box. I did wait until I was facing towards the box, but I also waited too long and I just ran into the box. So those are like the 2 things that can go wrong there. So yeah, this is a part that I can only really just say, just practice that. It gets quite a bit easier when you've practiced it. That jump there was pretty okay. Nice, that's a 28 checkpoint, so that can be like, you know, a little better, but it is what it is. Okay, yeah, I can go back like a few seconds each time just with the direction keys. So if possible, like on this first elevator skip, you'd ideally like to jump on here and then jump onto this next spot without actually jumping against the this wall here, because that's obviously going to kill all of your forward momentum. So let's see if I can just bring this back. I may have the blaster, so this is going to be a bit weird, but we'll see. Yeah, just try and make that jump if you can without actually rubbing against the wall and losing all your forward momentum, because if you're going slower at this point, then it also makes this follow-up jump considerably more difficult as well. Like, we take it for granted getting off this rail and just jumping up here, but honestly, it's not free, especially if you're not already going at high speed. And it's quite easy to actually turn too sharply and lose your speed here as well, so this is actually like not a gimme. So you do want to put yourself in the most favourable position possible for actually getting this, just to decrease the chance of something going wrong, such as like that, because it's very easy to either turn too sharply, turn too early, turn too late. There's a lot of individual things that can actually go wrong there and make that jump considerably more difficult than it should be. So one thing that you can consider doing here, like this was alright. Like the main thing to take away here is that like you did slow down and make sure that you weren't going to bonk against the door. That's good. One thing, like there's two things that you can do to speed up getting through gates like this, because like you're not quite at max speed when you go through the gate. So the two things you can either do is to start running from further away from the door, or a like stage specific thing that you can do in this exact spot is pretty much what I see like Dage doing, for instance, which is running against the wall. I'm gonna just like I'll try it once here. I'm not particularly good at this, so I may fuck this up, but let's see. Yeah, so like it's awkward to get this collision, but it is very possible to just get this wall to boost you along, like kind of like this. It's a little tricky to like get the hang of, but that is very possible. I personally prefer, because I'm, like I say, I'm not particularly good at that, I do prefer to just try and wait a bit further away from the door and then start running sooner, so that I've got more distance to cover to the door, but I'm still going to be reaching the door just as there's enough height to get under it, and then hopefully we'll have a bit of higher speed on it. Actually, getting on this elevator here. Okay, one thing that is definitely worth here, just a short, there's a very small optimization that can be done here, and it is like absolutely free to target, because if we slow this like right down, this is obviously a timed segment here where the elevator section is always going to take the same amount of time, and the elevator section starts when the elevator actually starts moving. And the elevator starts moving when you land on it. Like, it doesn't start moving once you like get in line with it, it starts moving when you actually stand on it. And you do a jump here, which is like higher than a short hop, and you're at this point and you're still not standing on the elevator, and you have to wait until you're actually standing on the elevator here before it triggers. So what you should do is like try to wait a little longer before doing that jump, and also try and just do the shortest hop possible. Just do a very, very short hop so that you ideally collide with it as you're reaching it. Something like that. Like, when it's just small optimizations, these things are like worth trying to apply as and when you can. So, like, alternatively, what you can also do is you can jump a little earlier so that you will like land on it sooner, but then you just have to worry about using too many or just using too long of a jump, which then cuts your speed. Like, it's a small optimization, and it is like a bit of a difficult thing to straddle in that regard, but like I say, it's worth paying attention to. This enemy here was actually quite slow, because somehow you like ended up on the left side here, when, you know, ideally you want to be in the middle here, and ideally as well in the air, so that you can shoot this guy as he's coming down to get this gate to open as soon as possible. I'm just not entirely sure what happened here. Let's see if I can get a comparison point here. Yeah, so I missed the enemy as well, but you can see that my position was considerably more to the right, and I was trying to be able to shoot him in the air as he was coming down. The absolute best that you can get there is to actually get a shot as he's coming down like this, turn around here and move back a little, and then get a pivot turn to go through the gate. But that is like quite a high-level maneuver, and I really don't see many people doing that. Like, so you can do something like that, but it's not easy. So jumping around that corner, I don't necessarily disagree with, because the collision on those corners can be really unfriendly. This is the same thing that I was saying before, that like this corner jump in general is just quite late. There's quite a lot of wasted distance here. Like you waited until you were fully around the corner before you jumped, and then took a wide turn around the corner. Like each of these individual corners can just like be slightly faster on their own, and the time really does add up. So just something to bear in mind. Just try and be as aware of that as you can be. As far as exiting this elevator goes, it can be like a little faster, because normally the time that I decide it's safe to go is based on when the enemy comes flying around here. So you get on the elevator, you start rising up, and you can see this enemy is already coming. Once I basically see the enemy up here, then I just jump and go. So at this point, I am like starting moving myself. So you like wait a little longer than I do before starting moving. Because the way that that shot avoided you was that you were like in midair when the shot just avoided you there. Whereas the way that I end up avoiding the shot is already being landed and then doing a second very short hop to avoid the shot itself, and then to change my direction for doing the right-hand corner here. So I'm going to see if I can get this as an example. That corner's mean, like I said. That's why I don't disagree with doing a short jump there. So, there's the enemy, go. And like that. So you can go quite a bit sooner, and you can see that I was considerably further along when the shot fired, so it's just all about getting moving as soon as possible, really, is the aim of the game there. So this prison lane so far, this is definitely like the most improvable stage of the run so far. For sure. Okay, getting both lock-ons there was quite nice, because I was very not confident about the position that you had there. And okay, like right here, this is the same thing that I mentioned before. This is just a lot of pay attention to just trying to jump as little as possible, because this was virtually a full jump when it really didn't need to be to get over that step. Yeah, this door is a little difficult to gauge. I'm still trying to find a good method myself for doing this, but yeah. Suffice it to say, you went a little early here and then just bonked onto the door as it was still opening, which unfortunately fully cuts your momentum, but this is the tricky door to get right. So, pretty much the same thing here as I mentioned with the first door, except I find that it's actually considerably easier, in my opinion, to get a second door where you don't stop moving at all. So, in my opinion, what you want a good second door skip to gate hop to look like is that you just don't stop moving. Like this. I like slowed down a little, but I didn't stop at any point. So that's the best that you can really hope for there. Without thinking, oh, I'm going to conserve 100% of your movement speed. Like, 100% of your movement speed, it's not too important, but you do want to pay attention to just not coming to a complete stop. And then, yeah, big hop is tricky. So, 144. So that time does speak for itself. Basically, with what I was saying about just all of the little things that were wasting like tenths of a second here and there, you can see that it really adds up, that comes out as like a 144. Whereas, considering it like didn't look too dissimilar just visually to what like a 138 or so would look like, but the time still comes out as like a 144, it's like all the time does add up here and there. Nice. So that's like a nice little in-between method for going for basically any sort of underloop skip there. I do the same thing in my runs, honestly. I do the same thing that's happened here, which is like jumping at this point. Preferably try and get a low jump here. But the important thing is that you don't get trapped by this box here and just fall straight into the water. Because underloop itself I find pretty tricky, but yeah. wasn't too bad. Okay, so a little bit of wasted movement here, since you did end up, once you got the light shoes, you just did a homing attack straight away from where you're trying to go, which, yeah, just try and make sure that you are angling to where you actually need to go before homing attacking. You don't necessarily need to do what a lot of people seem to be trying to do lately, which is like land around here and get the light dash, because that's obviously quite risky, and if you land directly on a ring, that can end up killing you. But ideally, you do want to be landing like around here. Like, you want to land on the edge, because it's just going to save a little bit of time and movement. Because as it is, you've still got a bit of distance to cover to the ring trail, and it's a bit of a silly thing to waste like little bits of time on. But yeah, that's not bad. So if you're going to be taking this route on the pulley, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with, I don't expect like everyone to go for pulley skip if they don't want to, but if you're going to be taking this route, then you can just pay attention to when you're going to let go of this pulley and carry on with the stage, because you did wait quite a bit longer than necessary to let go of this pulley. Like, you can like let go sooner, get grounded sooner, which means you start moving a bit faster as well. Let's see if I can get up there really quickly. Oh, nice bounce. The checkpoint's right there, though. Fat Boss, like, didn't get the light shoes. It doesn't work like that. So, yeah, right here. So, you know, just try and, like, release earlier from the pulley if you can help it. Like, there's no need to wait until, like, you're, like, right around here. And I bounced there. I mean, I wouldn't get a bounce there in a hero run, but you can see the idea. Like, it's an elementary concept, really. So let's see how this... I'm going to leave this slow down so I can see how this loop skip goes. So, taking this super safe. Which, I mean, loop speed here is scary, but the main thing with this loop is you just want to wait until you are through the loop. Before you do the homing attack, it means the loop speed won't kill you because you're already through the solid surface, and, I mean, it looks like you're going slower because of holding jump longer, which, you know, increases air drag and all that, but getting the loop speed more than makes up for the time lost by spending more time in the air. The main thing is just to make sure that you actually get a full jump here, because, like, it's tempting to just, like, let go of the jump early to try and break back into the bottom of the loop, but, like, as I said, even if you are quote-unquote wasting time from getting a full jump there, the loop speed time save does more than make up for it. So if you need to, like, hold it really long there to make sure that you're through, it's still well worth doing. And good camera there. Let's just do it one more time for demonstration. This time with, like, a super, I guess, like a super high jump that looks like it's not worth going for at all, but it could well result in me getting a very large loop speed boost. Nice. So I didn't even get a particularly big loop speed boost there, but it's still considerably faster than what you're going to get just going through it normally. So yeah. Okay, this I just don't agree with. Like, spin dashing up here, I don't know, I just don't agree with this, because you get so much airtime there, and that is basically just losing time for no particular reason. Whereas what I prefer to do is just jump and homing attack across there. Like, there's no real reason not to do that. Like, even if you're spin dashing up here, like, just just jump early and homing attack across. I don't even really recommend being in ball form here if you can help it, but just like, yeah, just something like that. And the amount of air time that you're going to be saving there will save a considerable amount of time. So with this right turn here, I think the movement for this section is actually quite tricky to get used to, but what you ideally want to do is just do this right turn all in one smooth spin dash, and then unroll storage under the barrier, and then just be charging your next spin dash for when you're on the other side of the barrier. It is quite a tricky set of movement to get used to, but again, I think it's worth doing. Let's see if I can get this here. Like that. Like, if you can get that all in one, then like it looks smooth, it's a little bit faster, I think, and you know, it looks really cool as well. If you can make it all a one. Another thing I unfortunately do disagree with here, homing attacking the enemies along here is no bueno. There is no situation where, well, the only situation where you want to homing attack the enemies is if you need to homing attack the enemies to stay alive, like to get the distance, and if you need that, then you've done it wrong in the first place. Like, you're starting the spin dash from a perfectly safe spot, so you should be able to cross this gap all in one. It's no faster to homing attack the enemies because at this point the rocket's starting to come out, so your pace at this point is entirely capped by when the rocket is ready. So homing attacking the enemies to get across here faster doesn't save any time, and all this does is introduce more risk. Because got the checkpoint, that's, I mean, it's kind of helpful because it puts me like right back here. Yeah, that's actually kind of helpful, I suppose. Like, notice, this is like where you spin dash from. You can like easily make that without needing to homing attack the enemies. But there's just a lot of very unfriendly things that can happen with the enemies around here. Like if you're homing attack in the wrong spot, like going for that enemy, so then if you start going backwards along the enemy trail here, there's just lots of bad things that can happen. And if you homing attack like in this spot that you were doing here, it like obviously you're aiming for the enemy that's right in front of you, but because the homing attack like prioritization and just target detection in this game is really crappy, there's a lot of different ways that the game can decide, oh, you're trying to go for the enemy behind Sonic, right? So you just go in a big circle and then you end up in the exact position that I did there, where you're going for the enemy behind you instead, and it's difficult to recover from. And it's just such an unnecessary position to end up in when, like I say, you can just cross that gap in one spin dash jump without needing to homing attack the enemies before. This is a habit I would get out of. I would not homing attack these enemies. It's not worth it. It's not faster, and all it is riskier. Like, a lot of people do that wrong. Okay, so the only thing that actually went wrong here is that you were actually too fast here. As in, when you did this spin dash off the side here, you actually had a bit too much speed. And you were also a bit far forward as well, but you had too much speed here, and it put you in a really awkward position to be able to get the next spin dash charge. So I'll try and like be in the same spot generally speaking, but then I will also not use a full spin dash charge to get across here. Like, it's a little tricky because if you don't have enough speed, then you'll just not make it over the gap. Like if you release, you know, a not full spin dash charge, you could end up not making it across. But as I say, it's entirely possible to have too much speed here as well. So you ideally just want to land on the edge. Like it looked like I was maybe not going to make it, so I landed quite early, and that did give me plenty of time to just start the delay for charging my next spin dash so that it came out right when I was on the slanted surface, which is exactly what you want. Whereas here, there's just lots of problems with positioning and the timing of the spin dash coming out, and it's a little difficult to handle. So just a lot of little things to take on board. So getting off the rocket is fine. So one thing that I've seen Traitor in particular saying, and I can't like definitively say how much time this saved, but Traitor swears that it's a little faster to go leftwards when you get off the rocket here. Like if you hold hard left, you will just lose all your speed. But Traitor swears it's a little faster to do something like this. To just get grounded like that. And I mean, I guess it makes sense because it gets you grounded very soon and the line looks more direct. Like, it looks like a shorter and straighter line, so it makes sense that it would be faster. So maybe that's just something to consider as well as a tiny little time saver. And to be honest, Traitor does know his stuff about Metal Harbor, so yeah, I don't really distrust his advice on Metal Harbor. Alright, so let's see how Shadow goes. Okay, so safe strat. Well, quote-unquote safe. Alright, so yeah, this is a weird one. The only thing that was like wrong with hit 2 is that you did go in like a little late. Because ideally, you want all 3 hits to be like as early as possible. The timing of the first hit is going to be variable just depending on the strat you use and when you reach him. But once you're onto hits 2 and 3, you ideally want those to just be as early as possible, as in as soon as he gets out of iframes. Whereas what happens here is you can see that there's a short period where he visibly comes out of iframes before the next hit lands. So, like, you just got a little too far away before you started running back into him. But then, this is just kind of weird that it didn't look like you, like, were immediately going back in for the 3rd hit. And I understand that he's attacking you, but you do just want to try and be getting into a favourable position to attack him quickly.
So you're not just a hedgehog.
But the fight was handled pretty well overall. Like, with the fight that you got, I would say I don't think any of the decisions were incorrect, really. Just with Shadow, like I say, try to make sure just not getting too far away from him so that you end up losing bits of time from not catching up to him immediately. Yeah, the age-old debate of whether to go for the light dash or whether it's not worth it here. People like seem to have different preferences here. I can maybe just like pull the start of Green Forest up here and hopefully go for a little direct comparison of, like, say when I reach the next hill. I personally don't think it's faster to take the light dash, and I prefer not to do it, but we'll see. So, about 7.5, like 7.4, 7.5 as I'm reaching and cresting this hill. Let's compare it to just not doing that. Yeah, it is a little faster to not take the light dash if you can get away with it. Like, it's easy to think that a light dash is always going to be faster because you travel really fast while you're in the middle of a light dash, but it's not necessarily always the case. If you find that the light dash does give you favourable positional setups for not getting any weird vertex fuckery here, though, then that's arguably more important than saving the couple of tenths of seconds there. So, you know, either or. Really, with this section of Green Forest, it's more just a case of what works for you, rather than what's objectively fastest by a very small degree. This is definitely not bad, though. Yeah, that's a high 14 check. I think you just missed the light dash here. I'm gonna, like, have a look at actually what you're doing on the inputs here. Yeah, I'm assuming that you just missed the light dash there, which, you know, is understandable. That light dash trails in this game can be awkward at the best of times. This was a nice attempt at a spin dash storage. I can tell this was an attempt at a spin dash storage, and then just, yeah, you can see, like, a couple of frames before you reach the spring, the spin dash animation comes out, which is just unfortunate, really. It was just a bit of, like, unfortunate timing, and your path leading up to it was quite wide as well, which kind of contributed to that. Oh, that's... Ugh, that... I mean, you made it, so that's the most important thing, but I really didn't like that early homing attack release. I find it a really touch and go when that happens, and then you're fighting against the camera direction change like this. Just, I have a bad time with the skip in general, but yeah. I personally prefer to wait a little longer. Let's see if I can just get a comparison here. Nice wall. Nice vertex. Nice vertex again. Yeah, I didn't miss the light dash. Let's try and get a straight path here as well. an extra input accidentally. This is about where it dropped me off. Yeah. You want to ideally just try and get a straight path to that spring if you can help it. Yeah, just I personally think it's a little preferable to wait until you've pretty much peaked from the jump so that you get more like forwards momentum rather than upwards momentum there, but you know, it's really touch and go with that loop skip, and others will argue that like, oh, if you're not getting the good camera there, then you fucked it up anyway, so you know, it's kind of weird, that one. That was not too bad, and I can see that you like actively tried to go for the top spring there. It looked like. I'm gonna run that back a little here. Yeah, like you did tilt back up on the control stick, and it just like wasn't enough. Sometimes that does happen in the game, unfortunately. But it was a good attempt. Another failed light dash attempt. Yeah, again, these things just happen. As far as this loop skip here. Okay, this seems a little odd to me here, though, I will say. Like, if you're not going to go for the wall jump, the wall run, I thought you were going for the wall run because of the way that you set this up here, actually. Like, you spin dash here, which is, like, you know, entirely correct. But then the way that you jumped here to end up at around this position so that you then started charging the next spin dash here, this made me think that you were actually going for a wall run. Because this, if you're just going to do the normal loop skip, go to the other side of the loop, this is, like, completely unnecessary, actually. And I would say this, again, kind of just introduces some unnecessary risk. Because granted, there was another like missed light dash there, but this is just a matter of, again, just I would personally prefer to minimize my inputs here and just do the one spin dash and then just do a regular jump. It doesn't even need to be really be a spin dash jump, but just it's because you get a bit of a slope jump here that should take you well across the other side, like without too much trouble. And then as long as you don't squeeze it too hard by trying to fall sooner and not breaking through the underside of the loop, it means you should ideally be landing sooner on the other side of the loop as well, which is obviously a little faster. Going for the, you can use the light dash here to set up your position for getting that ring dash, but if you're, damn it, if your entry into the light dash trail itself is awkward, then you just get really awkward results here. If you get like a really full-on entry into the light dash trail, then you do generally have an easy time, I find, with getting the good light dash up the tree. Like, that does actually work very consistently, but you do need to, like I say, get quite a straight entry into the light dash trail for that to work reliably. Because, I mean, just to compare what I mean here, if we go back, because this is slowed down, you can see that, like, Sonic's just going all over the place, and the angle when you came out of the ring trail was just not straight at all, which is just a result of how you entered the ring trail. That was nice, though, getting the storage hit there. Okay, I'm actually going to need to look at the input cam here again. Okay, yeah, you are using the shoulder button to reset the camera, that's good. This is important just for people in general to note about doing bungee skip here, that you can see here on the input cam that the left shoulder button is being engaged here. This is to actually reset the camera once it gets stuck at this spot. Like, normally it'll just get stuck on the inside of the loop and it'll stay there until you get far enough away from it. But if you engage the camera button there, it does force it through so that you can see where you are sooner. So that is something that's well worth being aware of. The actual jump angle there was still, I would say, quite awkward though. Like, when you, like, jumped here, you end up, like, really far on the right, and you end up needing to take a lot more leftwards movement here to clear the invisible wall, because for those who don't know, the idea behind making bungee skip at all is that Like, you need to jump in this general... You can see that the next part of the stage is here. Like, this is where the next part of the stage is. But you can't just jump straight over here because there is an invisible wall, like, right here. So what you'll typically see people doing, myself included, is that we, like, jump around here and then curve around to the right. That's to avoid that invisible wall. And because there's this extraneous movement to get around the invisible wall after the initial release angle was wrong, it results in not really making it by a particularly wide margin. Like, you're landing, like, at this red shrub here. Whereas, let's see what we can do with, hopefully, a good angle. I'm going to get the checkpoint, like, just for safety. I absolutely don't need the checkpoint to go for bungee skip, but this is just, like, for the sake of demonstration. So if we go a bit leftwards first, which looks bad. Like, it looks bad when you do this, but it does result in better bungee skips. And you're landing, like, a lot further along. Which, considering the time spent in the air is the same, that is really what you want there. So this is a really good one, for instance. Like, I'm landing, like, pretty much at this archway with that different path, compared to, like, landing around here. So you do get quite a bit of a distance difference, depending on what your jumping angle is like for the start of bungee skip. And in almost all cases, more left is better than more right. Oh, okay. So you did at least get, like, a full spin dash charge, so you had a lot of speed there, but that spin dash was held for really damn long. Like, you were already going fairly fast here. You already had quite a lot of speed because you had come out of a previous spin dash charge. So holding this spin dash for this long is, like, I mean, it's just a bit of an unnecessary time waste. And if I can nitpick as well, the position for this spin dash charge is also, like, not ideal. Like, this is honestly a pretty tricky section to get quite optimally. We'll see if we can just play around with it. Like, this is not a trivial section to do well on. Like, I'm not going to have the angle for getting the loop speed here. Yeah, no. But you can see that my spin dash charge time was a lot less there. There, just my timing was wrong there. There's a lot of, like, individual things that you're trying to get right here at the same time, and it is honestly quite an awkward part to get optimally, as I say. And then I'm just a bit low there, and I didn't really have enough height to reliably go for the loop speed. The loop speed is the best thing that you can go for here. Like, taking the early homing attack here to get into the loop, I would argue, like, unnecessary. But the main thing with loop speed in general is just, if you're going for it, you want to make sure that you're through the loop before you go for it. Because the first time that I tried it, you can see what happened was that, I mean, I can try it, I can deliberately try it again from here. So I was quite lucky to get back in there. Because if you're in, like, the wrong spot and you're not already through the loop, what can typically happen is that it instead throws you in the direction it thinks you should be in, going in, which can just be straight down, like that. Like, it can just throw you through the bottom of the loop. But if you wait until you've already broken through the loop before you do that, that's not gonna work. If you wait until you're already through, then you'll get the loop speed boost, and obviously it's not going to throw you out the bottom because you're through the solid surface. So there's, like, nothing that can go wrong at that point. So this will definitely work for getting the loop speed. That's pretty much the exact position that you want there. But the position and the angle and the timing, it's a lot of different things that need to all come into perfect harmony at the right time. And there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that initial spin dash off the ledge where the last checkpoint was. It is worth noting, actually, this is something I'm going to bring up quickly, because this is another thing that, like, I see a lot of people doing, for lack of a better word, wrong here. I see a lot of people taking this loop speed, not taking this loop skip as a spin dash jump, and this isn't meant to be a spin dash jump. Like, you'll notice I see a lot of people doing this. Like, you can, dude, nice camera. Basically, you can see here that Sonic is jumping, and even with the spin dash jump, like, I'm, like, barely making it. But the animation is important to take notice of, because I was spin dash jumping there. What you instead want it to look like is that you just cross in ball form. catches like this. And being in ball form here means I didn't do a spin dash jump. I simply charged a spin dash and let it go. Like, you don't perform a jump for this loop skip. Because jumping, like we mentioned before, when you jump, it introduces air drag. It reduces your airspeed to jump. The act of jumping makes you decelerate in the air. So, considering you are trying to make a distance-based jump like this, you don't want to be going slower. Like, the only reason that we spin dash jump in a lot of circumstances is because, as well as the distance, you need, like, enough height to make it across a gap. But since your target here is a lot lower than where you start, you don't really need the height. What you're just looking at is the distance. And if you're trying to maximize distance, you just want to stay away from the jump input. So those were a couple of very detailed stages, actually. Prison Lane and Green Forest. So Pumpkin Hell. Let's see. I mean, you know, this is going to be pretty short, but we'll see. Jumping quite early here, actually. Like, obviously the objective here was to make sure that you went around the upgrade and got the tech storage. But it was just quite a like a really late and quite a high jump when, like, ideally you just want it to look something like this. Like, you don't need to do such a high jump to avoid that, and then obviously getting caught on the fence, just something to bear in mind. Just try not to let that happen. Yeah, like that. Very high up, so church piece. Obviously the number one thing is knowing where to go. That was a very clean climb up there. That's a lot more difficult than it looks, so that was nice. Under the chimney piece too. Oh, this is just not knowing where the piece is. Yeah, so, yeah, just continue to work on piece knowledge, is all I can say. Because I think here you just thought that the piece was somewhere that it wasn't. Okay, this is just, yeah, this is just a routing error. It's never faster to just go away from the piece. What you should have done, like, as soon as you saw the piece that you had here, you just turn around and you go for the rocket that's now behind you. Like, let's time this out, actually, in some objective manner. I'm just going to go over here, take this rocket, just to set up, like, some objective timing standards. So let's grab this hit monitor at 12. So let's take the route that you basically did here. Like, you know that you want to go for King of the Hill, so you're going over here, and now you're going towards King of the Hill from here. And you're reaching it, like, about 33. Whereas by comparison, let's just again, like, wait for about... Nice. Wow. So we'll just wait again for, like, about 12 seconds before getting the hint, just to, you know, establish fairness between the timings. So, oh, I need to go over here. And I mean, I'm making a mistake here, and it's still coming out as considerably faster. So that, honestly, just going over to Pumpkin, going away from the piece before going towards it, that just lost a few seconds in itself. So you should always just be trying to bear in mind the stage layout and what is the quickest way to get to where you need to go. Like, normally in SA2 you want to prioritize not changing direction because it slows you down, but yeah. Can be weird things in this game. Let's see how Mission Street goes anyways. Well, the path here is just, like, a little wide, like... Yeah, taking that route I don't, like, really agree with unless you find that that is easier for you to make it through. but this is like potentially over a full second slower than what you would like really like to see at the start of Mission Street. For one thing, like I mentioned, for the very start of the stage, if you can like get a straight line like this is just better than taking the wide path that you did. And then if you can make this work, obviously it's a tighter line and it's going to end up considerably faster. Like at this rate, I'm going to reach the upgrade. Well, I was going to reach the upgrade about a second faster. Like that's like still like about the same in terms of like the actual distance taken, and it is considerably faster than the like mid 23 here. Nice weight hop. Like, doing a pause hover there when you're not trying to squeeze any sort of IGT cycle, like, I don't think it's necessary, but if you're just in the habit of doing pause hovers and you can get them reliably, then, like, it's fine, I suppose. I just don't think it's really necessary to do it in that spot. Okay, this is just unnecessary movement, again. This is something that I actually mentioned specifically in En Passant's PB analysis, so I'm going to be, like, revisiting it here. I mean, I'm not going to make this cycle now because of this. We can try. Nearly. With the floor lowered. But yeah, like jumping extra times and taking wider paths with tails, like especially when you're now trying to meet cycles here, it's just like really not a great position to be in. Say that, I can't even play the fucking game. Let's get up here. Alright, round 2. So this is what I mentioned in En Passant's PB, that I'll just get the enemy out of the way first. But like what you ended up like specifically doing here was like ending up like around here, and then you're jumping around and losing speed, and of course you then missed the cage jump here. What you should ideally trying to be doing here, if nothing else, like you can either, you know, do what Dage does, I suppose, jump on here and get another hover jump off there, but obviously it's a little awkward to perform, to say the least. I think the most reasonable thing you can do here is just to get lined up like this, shoot the car out of the way. And even if you don't shoot the car out of the way, it barely stops you. Like, you pretty much don't need to worry about that police car being there. So just try and get a tight path like that, and then get a hover jump when you are just about past past this red barrier here. Like, once you're around about here, you want to try and hover jump from there, so that you're not ending up against the cages here. And then, because even if you get a hover jump from there, you're starting from 0 horizontal momentum. Whereas, by comparison, you can be doing as good as getting a hover jump with full horizontal momentum. Like that. Like, that saves quite a bit of time, and when you're trying to meet zero cycle by scraping together every 10th of a second you can, that's a considerable time saver that makes zero cycle a lot easier to manage. You almost didn't make that. Yeah, I would advise changing your approach for this. Because if you'd been any lower, I want to say that you wouldn't have made that and you would have died. So a much safer approach here is just to, I mean, do like the same thing here, but just be hovering high, and then just drop onto the orange gird here, and then just walk on there. There's no reason not to do that. It's a lot safer. And all you're doing, if you're just doing that every time, then all that's really doing is risking taking a death, because it's not faster to do that. Because, again, you're trying to meet a cycle, and as long as you're moving well through the stage, the cycle should be relatively comfortable to make, so then just doing things that make it riskier, it's not a good strategy, in my opinion. Okay, so zero cycle is always going to be difficult at best for you to make if you do that box break like that. Like, this is always going to be a bit difficult to manage if you take this sort of path. Like, you didn't try and fire a shot here, so I don't think it's your plan to try and shoot the box as you're turning right. So what you may want to consider doing is just the method that I use, which I think is fairly reliable here, which is where you like get just close enough to trigger the weight, and then you just do a pivot turn and immediately turn to the right and fire, and you should be in the right spot to break the box like every time. Like that. Getting onto the weight's another matter, but that is, I think, a fairly easy way to get the box out of the way and expose the switch, which, again, makes Zero Cycle considerably easier to manage with. And then here, as far as getting off the weight here, this is another thing that I unfortunately do disagree with, and again, I've already gone into this on Passant's PB. So we'll just get up here. So I did make a mistake there. Like I mentioned, you want to ideally get that without losing your speed there. But I missed one of my pause buffers. Let's just get into position once again. Okay, so what I'm seeing here with getting onto the weight is you're waiting like around the halfway point. Like, yeah, around here. And then by the time you're getting ready to like jump off, you barely have any speed when you do this, and that jump, making it onto this platform, is a bit more difficult than it really needs to be. The ideal spot that you want to be at is... I mean, I don't need to go fast here, so I can just get this ready. Yeah, you ideally just want to stand at the back of the box here, and then you can get a full run, and then when you do that hover jump, you can be at full running speed by the time you reach the end of the weight. Right there. And the game gives you a little bit of a cue of when to start running as well, because as you ride the weight up here, the camera does like this little pan at a specific spot. I'm just going to call it out and then start running when I see it. So, now. And, like, that looked fairly risky, but as long as you, like, fairly strictly follow, like, when you're supposed to go there, you'll have, like, a lot more speed doing that. And you can see that I made that without even needing a pause hover. So if you, like, use a pause jump, you'll get even more distance out of that. So that will be a lot safer than without, assuming you don't, miss the pause buffer. And then, again, you are saving at least half a second for making Zero Cycle. When you pull all of these individual things together, there is actually a lot of buffer room for Zero Cycle. Like, on my stream, I make Zero Cycle look quite lenient a lot of the time. And it's because when all of the individual parts of the stage are going exactly right, it is very lenient. So as it is, just getting away with a half cycle here, it seems. So getting a little bit of a momentum boost on the slope before jumping across here, that was nice. I do agree with that. And then I've been talking lately about how I disagree with shooting there at all to get that enemy out of the way, but, it's a minor thing, and people are just going to have their habits, I think. Okay, this was nice, but you did get lucky here, because you hugged the wall the whole way through here. Like, you can see Tails is, like, jittering back and forth. This is because he's trying to, like, turn into the wall, which means you're hugging the wall the whole way through, and you can see that the sparks here indicate that you did collide with the boxes. This is basically random collision, for all intents and purposes. On this attempt, you just happened to get good collision, and you got through without an unfavourable bonk, but that's not going to be consistent. If you want a more consistent way to get through there in one piece, then we'll just take a look. So I'm just going to mention again what I said here about not shooting this enemy, and just also trying to take a straighter line if you can help it. Because, it's a little bit faster. So I'm just going to take a little bit of time just to get the enemies out of the way here, because, enemies are a nuisance. Alright, good. Everything's dead. So yeah, this thing is a nuisance, and getting through here cleanly in one piece is a little awkward. So what you did is that you, like I say, you basically hugged the wall with Tails. Like, you were just going around like this, and see there I got a bit of a worse collision where my momentum was cut momentarily. But it's entirely possible as well to just get like really bad collisions where you just get stopped completely or even bounced backwards. But a more consistent way of getting through here is to actually, once you're through here, like aim a little further up on the control stick so that you take an angle like this, and then once you're like around here, you curve in towards here. Like, it's a bit of an awkward thing to get used to, but once you're used to it, I find it is quite reliable, and you will get through without any bad collision consistently there. Like that. You can see that there wasn't any sparks there. There wasn't, like, Tails didn't collide with the boxes at any point there. And again, it's 2 times in a row. That is the way that you get through there without actually colliding with the boxes at all. If you can get used to it. It is a little tricky to get used to, but that is definitely the best way to approach that. Well, here's the thing, SMB. Until you are, like, doing all of the parts of the stage as optimally as you can, it's surprising how much of a dead zero cycle you can get away with. Like, I know you watch my stream, and you've probably seen me get away with some fairly dead-looking zero cycles. Like, I've either ran into the enemy, or I've punched the enemy, or I've failed the cage skip jump, but I still get zero cycles, sometimes with still a little bit of leeway. And that's created by just doing the rest of the stage as optimally as you can. When you're pulling all these little bits together and you're doing them as clean as possible, it's surprising what you can get away with on Zero Cycle. Like, when it was first discovered, like, at the start of 2015 for RTA, pretty much, we thought it was like, oh yeah, you've got, like, half a second of leeway going through the stage to make this. But, like, there's honestly a lot more than that if you're playing the rest of the stage very well. So there's really no reason to not try and develop all the best movement habits all the way through, because it'll just give you a better time on a more regular basis. And there's just no reason to not develop good habits, even if you're not going for the fastest cycle, because it'll just benefit you everywhere. So let's have a look at this. Yeah, okay, so this is another thing that I brought up in Ampersand's PB. A lot of people aren't really prepared for how to play the start of Aquatic Mine in a run, because the Aquatic Mine is not the same in a Hero Story run compared to when you're doing it in stage practice. I'm going to take a quick look to see if I can actually start on the Aquatic Mine scene. I don't know if there is a scene that starts from Aquatic Mine. I think this... Oh, it is. Okay. Okay, so the important thing to note here, I'm just going to be mashing A. I'm just mashing the A button now, and as soon as I get in control of Knuckles, I'm going to glide. Like, you already have control of Knuckles there. Whereas, by comparison, if I now go into Stage Select, and if I play Aquatic Mine from here, I'm mashing A again. I don't have control of Knuckles until I'm landed on the ground. So this is what, like, everyone expects the start of Aquatic Mine to be like, because they do, like, 99% of their Aquatic Mine play through Stage Select, where they don't have control of Knuckles like this. So what they do is exactly what happened at the start of this Aquatic Mine here, which is you landed, and then you started trying to go fast. Whereas in story mode, specifically, what you want to do to start Aquatic Mine is, because you already have control in the air there, like, as soon as the stage starts, you just want to start by doing a glide, drill dive, oh, nice free piece, glide, drill dive, punch, and then go fast immediately, like this. Like, you can just do that for free at the start of Aquatic Mine in a story run. Ah, collision. So that's just something to bear in mind, because, like I say, that's something that's exclusive to story mode. A lot of people, like, don't make use of that because, as I say, the number of story mode Aquatic Mines they do compared to Stage Select or General Practice is very, very low. Oh, yeah. Try not to miss the enemy. Alright, yeah, if you're going to do that free piece check, I mean, hang on for one thing. Go back to... Yeah, I think you had green radar at the start of the stage here. I think I've heard Tommy say that if you have green radar at the start, this free piece check isn't worth doing. But if you're going to do the three-piece check, then it's really just worth doing as soon as you get up here. Like, as soon as you're here, you should just do the three-piece check, like, right there and then. And then just do whatever else you were going to do. By the way, something other than a minecart. Ghost window. Alright, this route I don't really agree with. Even if you're not going to go for the wall run, I want to say that it should always be faster to just take the other path here. So let's try and... So, starting from 35. So even without going for the wall run, let's see. So crappy movement, and I reached there like 46.5. So from starting there, it took about 11.5 seconds to reach there. So that's like about equal, and that was compared to the first one having like movement mistakes as I was doing it. So the first one, the more direct one, like I said, it should be faster. So 11.5 is what I'm trying to beat here. Yeah, like it's like at least half a second faster just to take that simple route there, and then, you know, it's less movement, which means then at the same time, if you're also applying a wall run into this, then it's gonna be even faster. I know, Kinky, but then, as we're seeing, wall running's tricky. Especially when this hint monitor here is just trying to give you a bad time. But yeah, obviously just wall run if you can help it at all. Yeah, I really hate taking this specific wall run with speed. Alternatively, you can try wall running on this sign, but then the ghost that appears here can be an asshole. And yeah, there's just bad things that can happen. But my point is, even without the wall run, it's still faster to take the more direct path. So it's like, there's no reason to not do that. And then triangle skull. Yep, get grounded as soon as possible. I'm not entirely sure why you glided there. And, I mean, for this specific spot here... Yeah, okay, this is just narrow path movement. To be honest, a lot of people don't really do the movement in the narrow path properly. I just, like, stay grounded here. I'm not entirely sure what the point of gliding over there is. If you want to, like, try and just drill dive onto this slope to get another boost, I mean, I suppose there's no harm in trying that. Like something like this. I messed it up a bit. But then I do try to like glide over this grate a little bit here, and then I just follow the same rule that I mentioned in Wild Canyon, that if Knuckles needs to go over a ledge, rather than jumping and gliding over it, you do want to punch over it. Nice spiral upper game. Nice spiral upper game. Yeah, just punch over the ledge like that if you can. Because especially in the narrow path, doing a punch like that puts you in a very favourable position for then punching again once you're here to just go up this ledge quickly. Like, what happened to you, and I see it like happening to a lot of other people as well, is just like needing to do all sorts of weird like gliding movement here to get up the slope here, when it's just super, super unnecessary. Just, like I say, be at the fucking camera, just be at the edge of this ledge, just punch off it, and then punch again once you're grounded, and you'll go up there no problem with a lot of speed. It's a hell of a lot faster than what a lot of people get when they don't punch up the slope. Like, that's one of the areas of the game where, like, there's one correct way to do the movement and then a lot of wrong ways. And for some reason, a lot of players just are choosing any of the wrong ways to do the movement. So yeah, just try not to do that, I guess. Like, punches for movement are very, very undervalued in narrow path. So let's see Route 101. Yeah, wall already? I missed that actually. I was looking at chat. Yeah, okay, I don't really know what you're doing here. Just try and take tight paths. Yeah, maybe just practice the driving. Because this is interesting. I don't know how much you practice Route 101, but this is actually, from what I'm seeing, it's actually worth you practicing Route 101. The timing on your direction changes when you're just doing general snaking, it's honestly like not bad. Like your actual snaking movement isn't bad, but the turns are quite strange. Like the times that you're turning and the lines that you end up taking, there's just a lot of very awkward turns that I'm seeing here. So just, I suppose, just practice when to start turning in Route 101. I can't really say like specifically how to fix this, because I honestly just play Route 101 on instinct. I guess I can just try and play my own just as a comparison, because I haven't played Route 101 in this play session yet, so this will give me the immediate speed boost at the start. But in Route 101, I just try to turn as little as possible, is really the crux of how I play Route 101. I turn as little as possible. Because, you know, the straighter you go, the faster you'll go. Shouldn't really boost there, but whatever. Like, you can hear my control stick. You can hear that I'm actually not really doing a lot of tight snaking. Tap, 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 tap. I'm really not changing the control stick very much. Yeah, that turns awkward. So maybe this is just a thing for a lot of people in Route 101, that people are like overplaying this stage, I'm not sure. Because yeah, I'm really not doing very much stick movement here. Yeah, so maybe that's worth people looking into, like using less stick movement in Route 101. And this is not a very good lap 2 for me. Like, I'm coming out with like a 120. For me, that's not very good. That's losing almost a full second on what I'd consider a really good lap there. Yeah, in general, just the lines that you're taking are just quite a bit longer than they need to be in most spots. Like, any racing game player will tell you, people who've like tried to get good time attacks in racing games, the key is just to take the shortest path possible. And on a lot of these corners, you're just taking very wide turns, is all I can say. Like dipping to the left there, like, I don't know if that was just an accident from your control stick movement or if that was actually a deliberate play. I'm really not sure, because I just wouldn't dip to the left like that. And if that was an accident, then it's, like I say, just continue just practicing the stage, I guess. Your actual left-right movement is worth saying. Your actual left-right movement is actually very accurate as well. I see, like, a lot of people on the input cam, like, deviating all over the place with, like, doing right, up, left, like, up, right, left and stuff. People, like, go all over the place, but you're just, like, dead on left, right all the time. So that's really good. Like, the actual direction changes are very accurate. So I guess now it's just about increasing your efficiency in the stage. Ah yeah, the cursed start of Hidden Base, and the cursed stage in general, the stage of a million little optimizations. So there's a few things I can like say about this very initial hover jump here. So, the angle that you're ending up here means that like once you landed, you needed to turn to the left, which, you know, causes you to lose momentum. You're also like still airborne at this point when you should ideally already be grounded and running towards the dynamite packs. So as a comparison point. So ideally, try to like just like already be running in a straight line like that with a lot of speed, because what happened here is just as soon as you landed, you lost all your speed and then you needed to get the speed back. Okay, so this was fine. Full jump. Oh, nearly. Okay, yeah. Very good try though. I mean, you got the height, it was just the position was off a little, so that was a good attempt. Alright, so if you're going to go for axle jump like this, yeah, if you're going to go for axle jump, then you should go for it earlier rather than later. Like, there's no real reason to not go for axle jump from here. Because as it is, let's see, like 23.5 on the clock. So you could be jumping at about 23.5. And instead you're jumping at about 25. So you're basically waiting an extra 1.5 seconds before you even jump. So, like, granted here you have, like, a slightly more direct path to where you're going, but it's not going to make the time up from just getting the quicker jump to begin with. So if you're going to axle jump, then just do this instead. Go over there. Like, it's safer than it appears, and then you're just getting over here in nice time. You did wait quite long there before releasing from the pulley here. Like you can see, let's slow this down right here. So the pulley reached its highest point here before you actually hover jumped off it. You can wait before you reach the top, and I've also mentioned in Ampersand's PB that if you wait until the pulley reaches the top, then you are slightly at the mercy of how the pulley bounces up and down at the top of the cycle, which can give you actually a bit of an unfavourable jump, whereas you can actually just wait for it to start pulling you up like this, and then just immediately jump off it, and with a good hover jump you'll still have more than enough height to make it over. Like, this is quite low actually, but I jumped like really, really early there. So let's like wait for it to pull me like halfway up. Taking like quite a bit of time to get back over here, but it's worth just showing. Yeah, I have the blaster, doesn't matter that I missed all of the dynamites. Tricky. Alright, so basically you waited until you were like here, like at the top. I'm just trying to wait for that guy to get out of the way. So you waited until like here and then jumped. Whereas you can ideally just get away with something like this. Just do it as it's pulling you up. And again, like I'm doing that without a pause hover, I'm still making it. So if you're getting like a pause hover out of it, then you can get a little bit more height out of it, and it's a little safer than I made it look there. Because honestly, hidden base is just a case of optimizing every little thing that you can there. Okay, well, if you're slowing down to miss the dynamite packs, then you should just be rethinking how you're playing the start of the stage, because speed is not going to affect how you get the dynamite packs. The only thing that controls getting the dynamite packs here is your position. I have the blaster, so I'm going to need to be careful about how I'm targeting here. So like ideally you want to be like running in this direction. So I've got all three lock-ons, which is nice. I'm going to need to wait for this to run out. You can see I'm not getting any lock-ons facing in this direction. I'm getting one lock-on facing in this direction. And I'm getting two lock-ons facing in this direction. It's only when you start angling more towards the left that you'll actually get the third lock-on. So like the reason, like you can be like over here, You can be like standing facing in this direction, and you can still end up missing the third dynamite pack on the very left. So yeah, like this is what I mean. You can see that like it wasn't until I faced left from here that I actually got the third dynamite pack. Like, this is a position that a lot of people are going to inadvertently be in, that they are in a position to get these two dynamite packs and not the third one. Like look at this. From this position that I'm in, even facing it, I can't get the third dynamite pack, and it's because this is determined by where you're standing. If you're on the left side here, you'll get that dynamite pack no problem. But if you're on the right side, or just like too far away from it, like facing towards the right too much, then you're just not going to get it. So the only thing that, I mean, slowing down, like, it may be helping you get it, but ideally you should be not slowing down, and you should just be facing left a little to get the dynamite pack. It's why, like, doing this first section quickly, like, it is a little dangerous, because, like I say, you need to face a little left, which means you basically need to nearly fall into the sand to get the dynamite packs quickly. But even if you just were not slowing down here, and you were going, like, too far to the right, you are still not getting the second dynamite pack. The third dynamite pack, I mean. So this isn't about slowing down, it's just about changing your position. Like, that is determining what's, whether you're getting the dynamite pack or not. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so I think you just went for the pause hover here. Yeah, so you were just a little late on that. So I can see exactly what you were trying to do there, but then you already were in the air by the time you got the next input off, which is just unfortunate. That's sometimes just going to happen. Doing this big hover jump here, I don't necessarily disagree with... I don't necessarily agree with this. I would rather just instead see more ground time. I need to take a bit of time to get up to that point in the stage. Oh, awkward direction. Bad movement. So yeah, what I would rather see people doing here is just staying on the ground as long as possible, rather than taking a long hover jump across. Like, I think it's a little better anyway. I don't have like statistics on exactly how much faster or slower it is, but I just prefer to stay grounded there. Like, I can't see this being preferable, especially like if you need to do a second jump to then make it anyway. Like, I'd rather just do hop, hop, then yeah. So you're waiting a little longer than necessary to do this. There is quite a simple audio cue that you can follow here to see when to go, because you'll notice, if I just back this up a little bit, you basically wait for the 5th ring sound here before you hover jump. Like, you hover jump, like, it's after the 4th sound, it's like slightly before the 5th ring sound. If you just wait and like try and go bang on when the 4th ring sound occurs, you'll get a very favourable one here. I'm just going to die to set this up so I can show you. Like, again, here, just like pay attention to the ring sounds once I'm on the pulley. If you go on the 4th one, you'll be in a really good position there. So you can go a little sooner, and it will give you a consistent audio cue to listen for, which will put you in a good position. So that's a nice little method to follow there. If you can be shooting earlier, like, this is tricky, but if you can be shooting a bit earlier to try and start shooting towards this door as you're like going towards it, then obviously a little preferable to try and break this door early. Like if you can get the door break like that so that you basically don't slow down, that is very difficult to get, I'm not going to lie. Like I'm not really entirely consistent at that and I do miss it quite a bit, but there's no reason to not go for it, and if you do get it then it's obviously quite a bit faster. So that's just worth attempting. Oof. Yeah, just try not to miss offer inputs. Nice. Okay, just a bit of an awkward direction change there. What I'm seeing there. Again here, waiting a little longer than necessary to just do this jump, I would argue. Like, for that jump specifically, you can pretty much just wait until you can see the pulley starting to pull you up, and then you can, like, go immediately. Like, you can go super early and still make the pulley pretty consistently there. I just don't shoot around here for that reason. These enemies, like, as long as you're going fairly swiftly, these enemies just shouldn't get in your way. Like, I jump around this corner to make sure I get around, but then there's no reason to shoot those enemies. Because, as you can see, accidentally punching there is really not good. Same thing here, just like shooting around this area to get those kikis out of the way, also really not necessary. And in some situations, there could be some freak accident which causes you to accidentally target these dynamites. And then if they're all gone, then obviously you're not doing the out of bounds skip here. So I just wouldn't target these things. Especially if you're taking the path here that you are, which is a good path to take, like cutting the corner there. If you're cutting the corner, then these things aren't going to be in your way anyway. So, again, yeah, it's just not really necessary. I'd cut this out. I'd get out the habit of doing that and just do it like that. Yeah, like, that was pretty good, honestly. You did land very late here, though, and the sooner you can land here with the enemies destroyed, the faster you can go, because this is another one of those spots where you can use the fence here to actually boost your forward momentum. Like, the fence will actively push you along and make you run faster. So, the more you can run against that fence, the faster you'll go. Waiting maybe like a little long to release from that pulley, but it was a bit better than what I see a lot of people doing there. Because the most frequent way that I see people taking this pulley is... I'm just going to get the enemies out of the way. I see a lot of people just, like, again, waiting for the pulley to pull them all the way up and then jumping straight to the spring, when, again, as I mentioned with the previous pulley, you should just be waiting until you see it start pulling you up and then just go straight away. Like, you have so much speed and it gives you enough of an upward boost that you can, like, go immediately there. But, yeah, that was a hidden base. Not too bad. Pyramid Cave, plus. Alright. So, Pyramid Cave is, I mean, it's a very complex stage. First corridor is a pretty 13 pace right now, maybe 14. Yeah, it was like that was a very high 13. But first corridor is pretty difficult to optimize, so I can't really say exactly what you did quote unquote wrong there. I don't really disagree with how any of this is going so far. Nice. If you find it easier to get that by... Whoa, what happened there? I actually want to see what happened there. If you find it easier to get the attack on the enemy here by like landing first, though, I'm not going to say no to that. The spring, like, using the spring there has been falling out of favor, but again, like, if that works for you and the bounce method here doesn't work, again, I'm not going to disagree. I want to see what happened here, though, because that was very odd, what just happened here. Alright, I need to see the inputs here. Like, what was this? Holding up. You did manually spin around. I'm not entirely sure why you did this, actually. If there's a specific reason you did this like this, I would definitely love to hear it, because this looks like it did just cause you to miss this. Like, by comparison, I just try and do this all in one approach, just holding straight up on the control stick, pretty much. A little bit of variance to make sure that I avoid the alter where you're supposed to put the key, but aside from that... Okay, I do want to see if you did the thing here. Oh, dude, no. Well, I mean, it worked, but again, a little bit of unnecessary movement here. When you come off this rail, so you exit this rail and then you were holding up on the control stick. If you end up getting awkward camera stuff happening, this is just going to make this, like, again, unnecessarily difficult to manage. The far more safe and consistent way to take this is just to have no control stick movement at all. Like, I don't have an input display up, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it, but get up there. $13 check, garbage. Yeah, like I say, just go up there in one if you can. So, I'm just holding the B button here. And I still get the spin dash at this spot. And then you can just aim Sonic in this direction. You can just let the spin dash go. And then as soon as you hit this wall, it just sends you parallel along the wall. Like, without any problems. And since there's a lot of weird camera stuff that can happen here, using directional input here is just going to, like, cause weird things to happen more often than not, I think. I think it's a lot safer to just exit this rail, because you can see the spot that it sends you off at, if you just go neutral, you'll naturally go along here, you'll end up about here, and then you can just let the spin dash go and send you straight down the wall. Like, it's extremely quick and easy. And it requires no extraneous stick input. Yeah, input position was just a little wrong there. That's a little too far right. This may work, but I think you're still a little too far to the right here. Okay, you did get through. I think that was a floor clip, wasn't it? Right there? I don't think you jumped to get this. Oh, you did jump, but you clearly clipped at the floor. This was actually really, really lucky. It's not very common that you see a floor clip here. Like that, you can see from the aura, you clearly did clip at the floor there. That's really, really uncommon. So, wow. I'm impressed. And it's clear that that is what happened, because then I think you ended up in a position that you really weren't expecting, because then you ended up past the hourglass and it took you quite a while to reorient yourself. So yeah, I don't think even you were expecting that. The second hallway, in general, is just always kind of awful. But still, I think made the most out of what you got there, from what I see. Getting first try there was quite nice. Like, you could have bounce excelled sooner, but I think you were just waiting to be in the right position, so that's, you know, not awful. This is pretty alright. Oh, yeah, just bad camera here. So, if you want to get a more favourable camera here, the key is just to not turn this corner too tightly. Because, like, you turn that corner, like, the line you took was really tight, but it does cause bad camera here if you take a really tight line there. Man, come on, Sonic, get in the right position. There we go. It would help if you jump. Dude, this is one of those days. I'm awful at door skip. I can't get it. I don't need any speed pads apparently. Yeah, whatever. I had to homing attack cancel there instead of bounce excel. So if you wait until you are more around this corner before you turn, then you'll get a much better camera that you can see there. So, I mean, if you want to continue to go for the tight lines, like, it can work, but just be aware that you are going to get bad camera there. Like, if you go around there really fast, and if your progress is very fast there, you're just, like there, you're not going to be able to see what you're doing, and it's kind of unnecessarily dangerous. Like, yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can die in this spot from having bad camera, so just be aware of that. And if you want to avoid getting bad camera, then like I say, just make sure that you take the corner a little wider, so the camera has a bit more time to catch up before it gets caught on the inside of the corner. Okay, about what happened just here. Oh, that was like, yeah, it was awkward, it was whatever. Alright, I'm surprised you actually still, that you actually came off that hill, because you did do this quote-unquote correctly. If you're going to homing attack the hourglass like this, the correct thing to do is to do a bounce excel, which sends you over this vertex, and then spin dash here, which should just stick you to the floor, but you actually still got launched, so I'm not entirely sure how that happened, but that is what I do here, so nice. Yeah, that's what I do. It may be that you just didn't get the, I can just do it off here. Maybe that you didn't get the, spin dash animation before you... I'm just gonna have to die, aren't I? Before you actually crested over the hill. That might be what happened there. Let's take a look. Oh, yeah, I actually just straight up fucked that up. Love that rail. Alright, so this time I'm gonna try not... I'm just not going to be preparing another spin dash. See, I still stuck to the floor there, so I think this is just a case of this... It just has really shitty collision. Yeah, I don't know. That part just is odd sometimes. So you missed the super bounce there, but made the correct backup there, and then... yeah, okay, just... The thing about this final loop is because of the placement of the speed pads, then you're going to have an awkward time using any sort of loop skip here after taking the speed pads, because with these speed pads temporarily locking your directions, like your controls, and then this loop speed trigger here, like you can see that I'm just stuck in this position. So if you want to be able to do that sort of loop skip like that, what you want to be doing specifically is avoiding this second set of speed pads here, I believe. So I'm going to take this first set, jump over this second set, and then I should have free control to just jump over. Yeah, just avoid that second set of speed pads because they will lock your controls. Like, that's bad news, hitting those speed pads. It looks good because it looks like they make you go fast, but like I say, they make you lose control of Sonic as well, so try not to hit those. Ooh. I'm a tired little officer. Okay, I personally prefer to... Like, if you're going to reset over a piece like that, I prefer to just get the upgrade first, but, you know, it's either or. Those. So corner climbing in this specific spot in Death Chamber is quite a useful little optimization to add to your arsenal. And by that I mean just doing this. So let's assume I've got the same piece. So once you're here, you just want to latch onto this part of the wall and just climb into the corner, because Knuckles rises a lot faster. Like this is me going straight up, and this is me holding up left. Like you can see Knuckles goes considerably faster like that. And if you combine that with hopefully trying to get like an instant wall latch, then you're looking at just going really fast there. Like that. It's just a little thing to keep in mind. Like, whenever possible as Knuckles, you want to climb into a corner, because if you're not aware of how... Yeah, it may be that you just don't know this mechanic, I'm not sure, but this is a constant thing with Knuckles. Like, I'm going to show that it's the same thing here. And it's the same thing on all walls, really. That, again, this is me holding up. And this is me holding up left. That Knuckles just goes that much faster, and it's because if the game can't apply the horizontal speed... Like, because I'm trying to go up left, I'm trying to move up and left at the same time. But because Knuckles can't move left against the wall, the game just adds that speed to the upward speed. Like you can see that I'm going up at the same speed, like, regardless of if I'm zigzagging. But then as soon as I hit the wall and I can no longer move sideways, Knuckles just starts going up a lot faster. That applies to almost every wall in the game. So that's definitely, as far as your fundamental Knuckles movement goes, I would say that's the biggest thing you should try and get into the habit of. Just try and corner climb as much as you can. I disagree with this. If you have a piece from green, it's not worth respawn farming for it. If you're going to take a death from the green room like you did, that can be worth doing for the teleport if you can die really quickly, but it's statistically not worth using it to try and farm for a piece, because you're much less likely to get a piece from the green room. And it makes sense when you think of the piece distribution throughout Death Chamber, because there are quite a lot of piece 2s that can be like in or around the blue room. So the reason that we do death strats from the blue room is because then you're not going to get any of the pieces that are in the blue room. Bat and Hourglass specifically, even if it like has a higher percent, it's still like not going to be particularly good compared to like what you can get from blue, and as I'm seeing it is still kind of punishing you here. Like, you know, if you're saying like, oh, it has a high percentage and it can work, as you can see, it's really not working in this instance. And taking a few attempts to get it like that is far from ideal. Granted, that can always happen from blue, but it's less likely to happen from blue. I personally just use death strats from green to, as I say, get the teleport and then just run with whatever I've got. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But, nice clip. That's rough, taking damage. It can be like just tricky, not really knowing exactly where the ghost's going to be once you get back in bounds. So that sometimes does just happen. What the? A host? So I don't know if you do fireball skip, so we'll see if this is going to happen. Although, at the same time, I didn't see the, IGT restart. Yeah, you may as well just do the IGT restart here. If you can pause and restart the fight before 0.85 on the clock, it is faster by IGT. So just try and get into the habit of doing that, I suppose, if you are prioritizing saving IGT. The earlier you restart, the more you'll save, but it's 0.85 specifically is the break-off point. Like, if you pause at 0.85 or later, it's no longer faster. So just going for a regular fight? Yeah, just make sure that you punch into the ghost rather than reach the ghost before you punch. Alright, so the only thing that I would like change up here is making sure that you glide right after you get out the ground, because, I mean, the fuck. I'll just frame advance this. Like, you got out the ground here. Like at this point, you should be able to glide immediately, so like 29.4. And then you just like when it waited to land normally, so it's like almost a full second slower than just doing an early glide to try and get on the ground sooner. Like, that can be like up to a full second faster. And the result of that as well is that there was a little less time leeway to get the one cycle than you ideally would have wanted to get away with. And yeah, like, low 48 fight. Considering this fight with the regular strat can go down to, like, being a 44, then that is, yeah, in between taking damage on the ghost and the getting out of the ground, that's, like, just 4 seconds right there. 3 seconds, really, let's be fair. It's just over 3 seconds. So, a golem. Okay, it just homing attacked a little early there. Ah, and it did punish you. Yeah, it's really easy to just get trigger happy on a golem and homing attack too early. I would just try not to be too fast there. Like, yeah, you clearly, that looked like you compensated and made sure you went later. That is honestly the correct play. Like, going later rather than sooner is less likely to punish you. Because if you go, like, really fast as well, like, say if you homing attacked on the next frame here, even if you got the homing attack detection to attack the weak spot, homing attacking from underneath the head can cause really bad things to happen with this little fucking thing that's on his head here, because if Sonic clips against this, then it can take him straight out of the homing attack form, and that can just cause you to lose hits as well. So I would just, for safety's sake, wait until you're above the weak spot before you try targeting it in general. That was a nice hit, though. So, greed hit? Ah, okay. I mean, I'll give you style points, but that was not a very wise decision. And yeah, here you just didn't wait long enough before you turned around. Like, you do need to wait until you're, like, fully back in bounds before you turn around, or the game doesn't consider you back in bounds and on the other side of the invisible wall, so that's just something to be aware of. Like, a golem punishes greed more than anything else. Okay. Another greed bounce, but this one paid off. Not bad. So yeah, there was just a couple of missed bounces which you can't really help. There was a couple of, like, poor practical decisions in the fight as well. But you know, when it's in a run and you're trying to go as fast as possible, trying to save time, I totally understand just trying to go for nothing but bounces and thinking, oh, it's fine, I'll just not miss any bounces. That's what everyone thinks in the middle of an egg golem fight. That was a nice break. Getting those enemies early, that was quite nice. Yeah, this is not a bad start at all. It's going to be like a 14. Yeah, that's not too bad, getting the pulley at 14 there. You did wait quite long here. Like, oh, this is... Man. Yeah, I disagree with this. I don't like this setup. There's a reason I don't use this setup. There's a reason that I initially used this setup and then stopped using this setup. I mean, I'm sure you've seen, like, the setup that I use for Bofa a million times before, but just for the sake of, like, having it in the tutorial and others can see, I'm just going to demonstrate what I do. And I'm going to use left side just to establish parity as well. 10.5-ish, good. I missed because... So this is itself a reason why I don't really like I don't particularly like the approach of waiting for the pulley to be at the very top here. Because, like, you can see with the way the screen is shaking here, that means the pulley's reached the top. And again, this means the pulley is currently bouncing up and down slightly. And being at the bottom of its bounce cycle can actually cause you to just miss this jump here, as what happened to me. So when you've seen me, like, take this jump before, typically I wait until I'm about to reach the top, which does just require feel. Like, you can see that it didn't bounce, which means I hadn't reached the top, but I jumped and I made it regardless. So, I don't know, there's different ways that you can address that. I just don't personally like waiting for it to reach the top, because that can sometimes cause it to go wrong when you didn't actually do anything wrong. So it's crap, really. So the way that I prefer to approach this clip is, I mean, the idea behind the clip is that you are shooting both of these boxes at the same time when you're in a specific spot and with a specific angle, and then with a very short hop, you should hopefully still be able to have this top metal box push you out of bounds. But I have a very specific method for it, which involves like lining myself up with like the side of these. It's basically symmetrical on both sides of the room, so what works on the left side will also work on the right side. And so I'm trying to line myself up with like this red floor pattern. Just run up to the second one, and when I reach the corner for the second one, I then angle myself to the left. Specifically, I'm using the laser of the Vulcan cannon. Like you can see the laser that's coming out here. I'm using this to determine what my running angle should be. And ideally, I'm aiming it... You can still like very faintly see it. It's like aiming right here. It's aiming just to the left of where these boxes are. Like, you can see it very clearly now. It's aiming like right to the left of where these boxes are. So if you can have it just in the wall, like pretty much aiming... It's really awkward to aim tail specifically. Like if you can have it aimed at the wall just past where the boxes are. So the equivalent on the right side would be like aiming it like around... My god, it's difficult to angle tails. Like around here. Like the equivalent being like you start changing your angle here. So like around there. Like on the left side. Then the idea is that you just wait until a specific spot on the floor and jump and shoot at approximately the same time. I try and do it exactly at the same time. And that went straight for the boxes. Nice. So I'm going to have to restart. That is why I wait until I am facing directly up before I shoot. Because that can happen if you wait until you are facing the boxes before you set up the laser angle. Alright, so once again with feeling. This is another reason why I don't really like going for left side. Yeah, you got it first try. So yeah, that's the cliff. But SMB got it second try on the right hand side. And let's see if there's any early dropping. I'm just going to speed this section up actually. Okay, so there's no early drop, which I'm not a big fan of, but we'll see where it goes. Honestly, Fat Boss, with this skip, you just want to go with what works for you. If you find that one side is easier, that's the side you should use. So if SMB happens to find left side easier, then that's the one to go for. So, yeah. There was honestly like quite a lot of, again, a lot of extraneous stuff happening here. I'm using that term a lot, but there's a lot of unnecessary stuff happening here. What you'll see me do very commonly when I do this is that I just wait for a specific spot in the timer that I can time 2 seconds easily. Like right here, I'm going to wait for 30 seconds on the timer, and then I actually let tails enter free fall for 2 seconds. Now I'm going to start gliding again. The result of this is that I think based on the background, it makes it a little easier to judge where I'm going from here. Just like compare myself against the background. Because you can see, like I have almost like the opposite of an aerial view. Like I'm viewing the stage from underground, so I can see that I'm almost parallel to the stage here. And it also means that once I start reaching the goal ring, I'm going to have an audio cue before I have a visual cue. Because by the time I reach the goal ring, I'm going to be close enough that I can actually hear the goal ring itself while still being above it. Whereas if you don't do this 2 seconds of free fall, you are not going to be anywhere near the goal ring. And the first indication that you're in the right spot is going to be like the green matrix background. Whereas you can already hear the goal ring here, so I know I'm in the right spot as I'm reaching it, and then just no problem.
I did it!
So I think taking the 2 second fall there is considerably better than not losing any height once you start flying towards the goal ring. So I'm just going to need to pause the game again when I can.
Gotta do better next time.
To stop the game from being loud. Meteor has the next stage, so we'll just do that. Okay, so this is a very good first piece. I'm not sure whether you went for the instant wall latch there. I can actually test from your inputs if you were trying to do that. I don't think you were. Let's frame advance this. Possibly. I can't really tell from your inputs if you were trying to go for the instant wall climb here by releasing A just before you reach the wall. But again, just in case people aren't aware, it is a small optimization with Knuckles to release the A button just before you hit a wall. Like, I'm just going straight into it. So I hold the A button just going straight into the wall, and there's a slight delay before I can start climbing the wall. Whereas if I release the A button just before I hit the wall, then you can start climbing immediately without any delay. So that is, again, like, for bare Knuckles fundamentals, this is a tiny optimization, but just from the sheer number of times you can apply it, the time save does add up. So that's just worth being aware of. Yeah, so the grab here, that was a little bit of an awkward grab, to say the least. I would try to just fall straight onto the piece, but yeah, it's a bit of an awkward piece to grab sometimes because of the camera, but you know, got through in the end. Missed the hint monitor grab. Something powerful. So bottom, other side, other side, other side, directly behind you, other side. Yeah, just stage awareness is important in Meteor Herd. In all the stages really, but it's quite important for Meteor Herd. I would, from that spot, I would rather go for the other hint. Like, let's just pretend I have the same pieces as you. So let's go for between the floating containers. Diddle-dun-dun-dun. Hint. Oh, behind something powerful, so like this. So consider basically the spot that I was at, and then consider that you have this hint monitor here, and then the hint monitor that you went for, which is way over here. So the hint monitor that you went for, it's further away, and it just takes longer to reach. Like, from here, getting here, you can just immediately start going, and you've already got this hint monitor here. And it's just quite a bit quicker than going for the hint that you did go for here. Although, wow, you got Powerless by itself, so you got the best hint from there. Wow. So that piece set, let's actually look at this piece set. So you got a 42, so I know what the pieces were. So let's pretend that you had this piece set, because that was an exceptionally good piece set. That, I want to say that should probably be a sub 30. So instant wall climb. Try not to choke grabbing between floating containers. Doodle-dun-dun-dun. Get the hint. Oh, okay, this piece. Doodle-dun-dun-dun. Oh, I've got Powers by itself. Yep, that's a sub 30 set right there. That is a fucking good set. So, wow. I would kill to have that set in a run. So let's see the rogue fight.
If that's how you want to play, I will take it from you.
So going for rings, I mean, if you're scared of the ringless strat, it's not necessarily wrong. Just, you will get 16s with the ring strat, but then once the fight got in progress, you did do the strat correctly. So if you want to practice the ringless strat, then I think it is worth practicing for the sake of saving this, like, second and a half that you can be saving. But the fight was fine for what it was. Like, if you are comfortable just going for the ring fight there, then I don't really have any specific problems with that. Like I say, you're losing like a second and a half, but it's not a lot of time. And if you're doing the fight consistently like that every time, then there's nothing really wrong with doing that. It means you're never really going to miss the quick kill like that. So probably CGSS here, because SMB always goes on about how Sugasus is free. Alright, movement nitpick time again. Unroll from that spin dash. Like, this is again just fundamental of Sonic movement. When you're going along a flat, you don't want to be maintaining the ball form. Like, this is something that Mustache pointed out to me. So just, you let the spin dash go, and then you immediately just unroll from the spin dash, like this. So I let that one go because I'm going down the hill. But then what you did here was you did this. Oh, I just reflexively unroll from it. So yeah, what you did was this. You let the spin dash roll when you should be doing like basically what I did the first time there, which is to unroll from it. And then, yeah, do that. Simply for the fact that for a brief second after you unroll, you won't be decelerating. So just optimization. And that's, again, just a habit to get into everywhere if you're not going downhill. Not an awful start, though, all things considered. That was a nice exit. I don't do that strat myself, so that was quite nice. Taking that safe, I see. Yeah, I try to go for the quick rail, but it messes you up sometimes through no fault of your own, so I can respect not going for that. Oh, he's out of bounds, the lad. Nice. And yeah, from here, he definitely knows how to hit the goal ring. Ooh, a bit high. Okay. Yeah, hit the goal ring, that's fine. I mean, yeah, CG is CG, and I think you've practiced CG enough to really know how the stage goes. Okay, going for this strat, the interesting strat. And yeah, I don't particularly like this strat myself. I mean, this strat seems to be growing in popularity, and if you can get it correct, then like there's no reason to not really go for it, I suppose, but I don't particularly like this strat very much. Let's break this down. So the first hit, done entirely correctly for this strat. Timing on the second hit was quite nice there. But then the third hit was released way, way too early. Like you can see that his iframes persist way after the third shot was released, so that's... If the fight went wrong anywhere, it's that just when you released the third shot there. And then, yeah, problems. Yeah, like I said, I'm not particularly a fan of this method of doing the fight, but if you can practice that up and like get really consistent at it, then no real reason to not go for it, I suppose. It can still get 15s. It's just that other strats can get 14s, so it's like, well, kind of why bother? Because the first hit is like necessarily a little slow there. When you're using that method, I should say. Interesting method here, but if it's safe for you, then that's the important thing. It's resulting in like high 14s though, which is like, not so sure about that. Bounce strat, which is pretty standard, and yep, the commonly used bounce method now. So this skip is just gonna play itself out. And that's final rush, good stage. See you later, guys. Yeah, standard stage. It's just the start the stage if you're able to work on like optimizing it much at all. But if you're taking that like deliberately safe to make sure that you're not throwing a PB pace run, then it's like, yeah, I can understand that. I do get nervous whenever I'm in final rush, and I take it a bit of a risky way for the sake of saving like half a second, and it's like objectively I maybe shouldn't be doing that, but it's yet to kill many PB pace runs, so I don't really have much reason to regret it yet. So, Shadow 2. Let's see if the important start of the fight goes correctly. No, it doesn't. And then the platform starts falling. Oh, this one's fine, actually. Surprised me. So, the only thing that really went wrong here in the Shadow fight was, for the very first hit, I think you were just too directly behind him. And by that I mean, to get the extra acceleration towards him to make the first hit land more easily, you want to be like either up here or up here, basically like on either the left or the right of him, but you basically homing attack from directly behind him. Like you can see the homing attack came from pretty much right behind him there. And it took quite a while for you to actually get the acceleration boost there. Whereas if I pull up a Sonic 2, I mean Sonic 2 for all intents and purposes is an identical fight, and I can just do the last Dark Story scene to reach it. So I'm going to do the same thing, and chances are I'm going to have difficulty reaching Sonic at the start of the fight.
All right, Shadow. Time for me to finish this.
That one was fine, actually. If you homing attack early, it does cause problems, though. Like, homing attacking there without very much height, like, that can really cause problems. So what I instead prefer to do is make a, like, sharp jump to the right, and make sure I'm in position properly, like, make sure, again, I'm, like, somewhere like this. I'm a little, like, too far to the side here, but the idea is that I'm above Sonic and I'm to the side of him, so then when I homing attack, you've got lots of speed and you just catch him very easily. And that's the same idea that I use on the Shadow fight, except on the other side. So I'm angling to the right, and I make sure I'm above him and to the right of him before I do the homing attack. Oops. Okay, good backup though. Yeah, the backup moves made there were actually pretty much correct. Didn't really lose your head there, which is good. Like, losing your cool and panicking on Shadow is the biggest mistake to make. So overall, yeah, this is a PB. This is, I mean, RTA 3745 this comes out as. And it's a low 26, it's like 26 something IGT, so that was definitely a run. Let's watch this one more time. Yeah. So, if there's anything specifically to take away from this and to like work on practice, I would say just the little nitty gritty parts of how certain mechanics of certain characters work. Like those things that I'm like noticing that you're not doing, such as like unrolling from Sonic spin dashes, corner climbing with Knuckles, having like little bits of too much airtime with Tails, stuff like that. Just little refinements, honestly. Like all of the basics are like still here. Some of your like Knuckles play in general was like just a little suspicious as well, with like taking incorrect paths towards the next target and unnecessary movement and stuff like that, and some weird decision making in Death Chamber. But by and large, it's just, I mean, it's a 37, the PB, and it's like a 26 IGT, so it's like, it's a good run. And it does speak for itself. It's like the best run that I've analysed so far. So I am just nitpicking and picking out the little details, because by and large, that's all I like really have to go by. Like, I don't think there were any accidental deaths in this run, for one thing. Which I think is a first, the runs that I've done. So definitely the best offering, I'd say, so far. And I do have time to do a couple of runs myself, so I'm going to change the title up here.